Hi, welcome to Dogman Teepee Hunting. If you're listening to this, it'll be on the Interdimensional Voyagers podcast. Where did I put it? Oh, put it somewhere. Aha. Not amateur at all. Not amateur at all. I hope you had a good week. Thank you for joining us on this rather hot Friday. It's not the best, I know, but quite sticky. And even more sticky for me because I've got in the padded room, the window shut. Yeah, I said because kids are playing football and other stuff outside. So it's like kind of don't really want it. Pass me the ball over here. I don't want any of that. So I thought, I'll just keep it as it is, really. Sort of like a bit stuffy, but at least it's okay. Let me take this banner off. I just want to show you my t-shirt. It actually came this evening. Okay. Yep. Quite like that one. Quite like that design. So all available on the shop. Yep. So if you trot along after this, to have a look on the YouTube shop, then yeah, you can find them all there. Yeah, they're quite nice ones. They're not the usual kind of iron-on ones. They're the sort of in the material ones. They're quite nice. Anyway, it's enough of the plug. Got some guests on this week, so it's not just me jabbering away like a absolute nut job on about like kind of one specific subject. I've got a guy who had on before. I've got Mr. Ian Wood. He's a brilliant investigator, very dedicated. I've been out with him and known him for a while now, and just damn nice chap, really nice chap. So quite pleased to have him on. Really pleased, and we should have another guy joining us as well, American guy that I interviewed just recently as well. So his name is Scott, and he'll be on shortly. But with the time difference and stuff, I think I've sent him a link, so he should get it, and then he'll be on. But in the meantime, I shall bring up Ian if Ian is ready. Hello, Ian.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, good. Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, not too bad at all, really. Yeah, just I put up a trail cam, or I collected the trail cam because I was having trouble with my trail cams, Ian. I put them up and they would
Yeah,
record during the day, but
yeah,
come nighttime, just like it wouldn't capture anything at night. No nighttime footage at all. It's uh, a Pro Guard got Pro Guard A3S trail cam. Um,
okay.
Nice one, really clear
Yeah,
shot. Sounds a bit iffy, but I think sound's always a bit tinny with those things. Um, but yeah, and I
yeah,
was like kind of having real terrible trouble with it, and I could not get it work. Then I collected it today. It has been in this particular forest where I've been before.
yeah,
Um, and I thought, well, it's hot weather. Uh, Looking at the Ordnance Survey maps, there's only one small or large pond at the top of this hill, and there's a forest all the way around. And the next watering hole, if you like, is about 2.5 miles away. So I thought I'm going to set up the camera on the hill
yeah,
where this watering hole is. And guess what? It caught nighttime footage. I was so excited before the show. I was like, look, having a quick look through, and it caught
yeah.
nighttime footage. I was like, couldn't believe it. I was like, yes, go. Yeah, so I was quite pleased about that. Have you ever had trail cams acting up at night?
No, no, I don't use them simply because specifically what we go looking for, um, these creatures can smell or see them, and they're very good at avoiding them, going
Mm,
around them, or manipulating them, or damaging them, destroying them. But that's not to say that 2 or 3 times I have found trail cameras in some woods. I found two at Nooney once. One was right opposite a nest where the top of a tree had been snapped and shoved upside down into another one,
Yeah.
where there were some cubs, and somebody had put a dog bowl underneath it. But normally, I know if they say if you use some sort of coloured filament paper like blue or green, that can affect their eyesight picking up these cameras.
Mm.
So
Mm.
I don't know if that's true or not, but yeah, maybe. But personally, I don't use trail cam. I just stick to my mobile phone.
Yeah.
I have tried a digital camera, but nothing. I got
Okay.
nothing. So
Yeah. It's tricky, isn't it? I chose this one that I haven't used them before. I've been like you,
yeah,
Ian. I've just like kind of gone out with camera and with the camera phone mostly, and that's been it. But I thought, well, I'll get a trail cam, see what it's like,
mm,
And I was looking around, and this one has got what they call like a black light. You know that usually when the LEDs come on at night, and you can see them from a distance, the red. You can see a red
yeah,
kind of glow. It's like kind of this one's got like what they call black light.
yeah, yeah,
Okay, so it's kind of like it still gives you the night vision, but it doesn't show up at all. No red at all. It's like kind
yeah,
of quite cool. So hopefully, I'm hopeful. Um, but I want to go camping at that wood. Really, that's what I want to do.
mm,
I want to sort of do a bit of a stealth camp. It's difficult because it's what it is. It's private land either side, and then you've got this choke point in the middle.
yeah,
So if you can imagine walking down through the tree line, and to the left of you and to the right of you is fenced off with barbed wire, private land.
yeah,
I've asked dog walkers, and dog walkers have said, well, no, the people that bought it is a company,
yeah,
and they've just bought it years and years ago to leave it, just to leave it, go back to nature. And I thought to myself, that's a bit odd. And it's proper. There's when you see a forest and you kind of like because of the layout of the forest, it's quite the tree line is not is I don't know. It's kind of like in lines, if you like. It's been
yeah,
planted, it's in lines, but it's now starting to get overgrown, and it's now starting to a lot of the brush is coming back, and it's now interplaced with a lot of other smaller young sapling trees coming up. So it's
mm,
slowly really getting, but it's a hell of a dense forest still. It's just left be totally.
mm,
Um,
yeah,
so I'm hoping that is on private land. So I can't camp on it, but I can in this choke point in the middle. I can camp. I found a couple of places that I can camp there. And it's quite good because it's really high up as well, so you get a
yeah,
good night sky, view of the night sky. So I'm quite interested in sort of like aliens and UFOs and seeing
yeah,
lights in the sky. So it's an ideal place really to go and just camp out. It's a shame you don't live any nearer to us, because if you lived nearer, then I'd say, look, let's go. I know you would. I know you'd come. You
yeah.
know, but yeah. So that's one place I'd like to definitely get my teeth into, as it were. How's
Yeah,
it been lately?
um, I- well, I've been up to May Lane a couple of times, and there's one that's just starting to stick his nose out from under the brush. It's very quick, so I have to get a video capture him doing it. But at the moment, it's very quiet up there. All the birds are singing, and everyone's feeling free to roam. The pheasants and everything else. It's quite noisy up there. So I don't know if they've moved on or they're doing something else. But there's one definitely up there. It's definitely got a long
Mm,
nose, long snout. But I'll send you the picture, the still I got later.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
he's got a big black wet nose right on the end. So
Mm.
um, I'm planning to take 5 days off middle of July to get out and about, because the way my job is at the moment, I don't really get much time to go out. When I took a break between jobs, I was out and about quite a lot. But since going back to work, obviously, I'm just sort of like, shall I go Saturday or Sunday? One of the nice places I like going is a place called Bruin, which is quite a nice, beautiful area. But say at the moment, I'm just starting to compile some more notes for my part 2 of a book I did a few years ago.
Mm.
And this time I want to try and explore some of the biomechanical aspects of them, as
Okay.
opposed to jumping out and scaring people and locations. I'm also trying to compile a pack map of the UK.
Interesting.
You
Yeah.
know, so obviously the most famous one, obviously, is Cannock Chase. There's Polkemmet Park in Scotland. And obviously the biggest one in terms geographically is the one we talked about, from the Forest of Dean to Glasshouse, over the Severn River, into South Wales, up into Brecon Beacons, all around that area. Because I had a conversation with someone a few years back, and
Mm.
he'd already had 3 encounters with them.
Mm.
And I was explaining about on the right bank of the River Severn, and going into Gloucestershire, and he just came out and said, "Yeah, it's the same pack, all that area, Cross Keys, Sahawi, Brecon, going over into the Forest of Dean, all around there. It's the same lot."
Mm.
And certainly from what I've experienced in the Forest of Dean and the woods around Glasshouse, they're quite they're a funny lot. You certainly got to be on your guard.
Mm.
You get that sort of Farmer Palmer vibe.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. 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 It's you saying it's been quiet lately. It has. It has.
Mm,
Usually I get a feeling, you do, don't you? You kind of like when you spend so much time out there looking for one specific thing,
mm,
you kind of like get, I don't know, I just get a feeling, but I feel that if they I feel they migrated. I feel they've gone from the usual places that I go to.
mm.
There may be 1 or 2 scouts left, but they were they may be
Yeah.
quick, and they may be young, and they may be quick, and, kind of they can smell me coming a mile away, so they're not gonna, but I
Mm,
can't. They're not as abundant, definitely not. And we get things like this. I've noticed this, Ian. I've noticed that it goes in peaks and troughs.
yeah.
Some time of the year you get a peak where it's like, you go out and you can't help, you're falling over them. It's like
Mm,
they're everywhere. You look at some brush, and you think, is that a shadow? I don't
yeah.
know. Did it move? No, no, it moved. No,
Yeah.
that's another one. Oh, blimey, they're everywhere. And then now you get it, and it's like really quiet. It's very, very quiet. You Ian, you mentioned about the biomechanical. I don't want to. take anything away from your book. If you want to mention your book or the title of it, you can. But I don't want to pull anything out which you haven't published yet. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
I don't want
Yeah,
to
sure.
sort of take but it interests me from the point of biomechanical. So we're kind of, are you talking biomechanical from the point of view of like, rotor cuffs, biceps, triceps, and the way we move in a certain sort of
Yeah,
direction?
yeah. I mean, like one of the curious things is how many accounts where you get a 10 or 12-foot wolf that can lie flat on the ground and somehow compress its rib cage.
Mm,
And
mm,
like people at night are like literally walk past them and not seen it, and then it jumps up. And it's like, oh my god, it's big. So, are we talking like some sort of gristle type rib cage, or some sort of type of bone, or where the rib cage is such that it can actually push out? When squeeze, because I know there's a bit of give and take in our own rib cage to a certain extent.
mm,
When you're being hugged by someone really hard,
yeah.
and you can feel your ribs being pushed in. And obviously when they let you go, you breathe out again. So I'm just wondering if they have the same sort of ability to somehow um, compress their rib cage as a way of appearing more flat. I mean, some of the ambush pits that are found around like over the years around Nooney Woods,
Mm.
they're only like 3 or 4 deep, 3 or 4 foot deep.
Yeah, I had the
So, so,
same.
so
Mm,
they must have the ability to somehow push themselves down or compress themselves. So when you're walking along, you won't, well, whether it's dinner or whatever, you're not going to see it
mm,
until the last second, and then it's over and done with. So
mm,
things like that. Obviously, I think the muscle tissue or fiber,
mm,
I think must be sort of really tight and compact. When you think about the amount of power
mm,
and the leverage, when you hear them about running and jumping, or some of the more extreme cases, like in the US, where they've been shot in the chest,
mm.
and the only weak spot seems to be below in the midsection, in the lower stomach and pelvic area.
Ian, I've got Colin on, sent a message in. Sorry, let me
Yeah.
interrupt you. And it seems to be sort of quite urgent. He said, Ian, read the last work of Dr. Spencer Black. Does that mean anything to you?
No, I've never heard of him, but I will.
And he's messaged again saying, last work of Spencer Black. So it must be, you can let us know, Cole, uh,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
you know, um,
I think that,
in, those pits,
yeah.
um, now, they used to be used in the army, didn't they? We used to have a shallow pit. I'll tell you why I know this, because I went on a paranormal hunt at
Mm,
Harwich Fort, and I was just wandering around. It's pitch black, and I was doing my usual thing. The rest of the group were one, and I went on my own. I was like having a little look around, and it was meant to be like a ghosty thing, but I saw some woods, and I thought, "Oh, hello, woods." It's like a red rag to a bull. Oh, I've got to go in there. Got to have a little
mhm,
look, just in case. You never know, do you? And with Dogman, it's one of these things where anything military, even though it's Harwich Fort, is now being turned slowly into a museum. Very
yeah,
interesting place, actually. I thought, well, I'm going to go and just have a little look at the woods, because you never know. They do hang around military, and even if it's
yeah, yeah,
ex-military, I
yeah,
thought,
yeah.
And there was a plaque, and I was reading the plaque, and I looked down, but shined the light down, and you can see some shallow layers, if you like, some pits, and evidently, what it was, when they were worried, in Harwich was defending the port. So when the big bombers
Mm,
came over, the big German bombers, they would try and take out the port, uh, or they would use use it in the moonlight to follow the river up,
Mm.
more inland. So they had placements of, I think it was 375 or 90 millimeter anti-tank guns, and you can still see
Mm.
the pins on the floor. You can still see the pins, where
Yeah.
they were
Yeah.
placed. Now, the funny thing is, I looked at the plaque and I looked down. It's right by a foresty bit, funny enough. And on the plaque, it said that this was where uh, one or no, 2 to 3 armed snipers used to go into these very shallow pits, have stuff put on top of them, and then if anything came up behind the actual emplacement, the gunnery and the tunnels where they put all the ammunition through, they would kind of see them because they were at a vantage point, and they
Mm.
would like kind of pop up and boom, 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 get
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Um,
That would be a sniper's nest, or if it was a standard slit trench, then it'd be only about 2 to 3 foot deep,
yeah,
which
that's
is
right.
which is only about which is basically as opposed to a proper what we call a stage 4 trench. Um, that's basically something you use only temporarily. Like
Mm,
we did in the Gulf. You dig you could only go down about 3 foot until you hit the chalk rock, but you build up an embankment and you got enough there for 2 or 3 guys to form a sort of temporary defensive position.
mm.
So yeah.
It's only shallow. No, I know with Type 3 Dogman, the all singing, all dancing, proper soldier type,
Mm,
to get into a 2 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot, perhaps trench is going to take some doing, to fit his legs in, his torso, everything else. But these layers, I found them. I mean, we've discussed this, didn't we? We discussed
mm,
this. We I showed you video and photo. You went, "Blimey, O'Reilly, Phil, I've seen the exact same things."
mm.
Where you've got a shallowish. I mean, I used to use my walking stick. When I put my walking stick in, it would be basically 3/4 of my walking stick. Sometimes, so it's not particularly deep. But then it's all covered over with branches and then brush and leaves over the top. And you
Yeah,
think to yourself, well, okay, all right. If people want to say that TP structures and the X's and everything else are made by people, then what on earth, what the hell are these things? Why are these things made by people? These layers. It makes no
yeah.
sense at all.
No,
Um,
I've only ever seen one example where the remains of overhead camouflage, where they'd use branches, thin branches, like a lattice work, and covered it with leaves. And
mm,
I've only ever seen that once, but the rest are just about 7 8 foot in length and about 2 3 foot deep. But I mean, I can lay in one of them lengthway, and my feet won't touch the bottom.
mm, yeah.
Which
So they're long. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
So yeah.
Colin said in 1870s he did the build of a werewolf. That must be that Spencer Black. He did the build
Okay.
of a werewolf. Colin also said that they do. They
Do you
he
migrate?
yeah, they do migrate. Which yeah.
Mm,
Um, so yeah, they do. He does. It is hired out now for ghost hunts. It has been for a little while. The Harwich Fort. So if you want to go, it's great because the tunnel systems are really good. But they bring the ammunition up. Um, Lots of bats
mm,
in there though. But I went down there, obviously alone as I normally do, and yeah, it was good. It was all right.
mm.
Um, anatomically, and do they compress their chest? I'm going to pass something by you, Ian, and I know you're going to go, oh no, probably not. I have been. I spoke to this guy yesterday, right? Scott Varden,
Yeah.
his name is, and he was talking. He's had a lot to do, predominantly with aliens, UFOs, and
Mm.
such and so forth. I was chatting with him, and he said that he's in they communicates with them. He's been taken up. He's and I asked him about towards the end of the interview. Oh, what about Dogman? And kind of. And we booked a part two. He was meant to come on the show. I haven't seen him come up on the show. I'll check
Mm.
it in a bit to see if he does. If he
Okay.
comes up, but I was wondering, do you, I get a feeling because I get I get spoken to on occasions when it's in places where it's dangerous or it wants me to move. It will talk to
Mhm.
me in a deep robotic voice. I've said the same thing, but I can't unhear it. What I've heard. So I'm just verbatim repeating it. What I'm saying, I've heard it, and it sounds robotic. Do you think there's any chance that these things could be robotic?
What, aliens
No,
or will?
Dogman. Do
No,
you think that?
no, no, no. For me, they're they're a flesh and blood creature that I think probably had the same origins as the wild man, or the Sabe people.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
based on, if we take Bigfoot, okay, we'll use Bigfoot for argument's sake. I mean, from what we know now from their DNA, that that there is a human mother, but the male is of unknown origin. So, uh, and from what I read last last year, and listening to at least two videos, they're starting to break down the male DNA, and that is a hodgepodge of bear and God knows what. So some entity, probably from above, came down, um, and probably whether you call the Anapu or the Anuki, the Sumerian creation myths, and they talk about a slave population because they got
mm.
fed up themselves digging for gold, and they were tinkering around with different life forms until they came up with the first man, Adam. But I believe that that the Sabe people, or Bigfoot, were part of that experimentation, and I think the wolf people are probably of the same origin. And from what we know from Bigfoot DNA, they've been around about maybe 35,000 years. Um,
I've got to stop you
uh,
there. I've got to stop you there. From Bigfoot, what Bigfoot DNA?
Bigfoot, Sabe people, Velvusa, Yowie, whatever. I mean, to me, they're all the same, even though there's different variations of them. But they all have different names. But it's one of the same thing. Like
Because I
like with the
was,
war.
because I was thinking, to myself, well, take for instance with the UFOs. Now they make some. They're meant to go through in excess. We can do about 9 Gs without passing out. But any more than that, and that's it. We're done.
Yeah.
We're kind of like we're in a blender. Um, but these things can do phenomenal maneuvers. We know this.
Mm.
Instantaneous speed, and it begs the question: do they have to be living, breathing organisms? What about if they are robotic? And that then brings another question up. And the
Yeah.
question that I want to bring up is with you, Ian, is and
Yeah.
people at home. Um, if they are robotic, and say the government are hiding because there's a reason for them to. There's either two things. Either they don't genuinely know what they're dealing with,
Mm.
like they don't genuinely know how to
Yeah.
handle Dogman or Bigfoot. Just say that they know that Bigfoot and Dogman exist. Just say
Yeah.
they know. How what is stopping them from letting people know? What is stopping them from letting people know about the aliens in the shape of lights in the sky, craft, because so many people see it, and it's almost like it's, um, I don't sure if it's because people's cameras on their phones are getting better and we're getting more footage. And it's not just a case that it's amplifying and it's getting busier in the skies. It may be that
Mm.
people are more aware and they're more
Yeah.
able to photograph and video stuff. But nevertheless, there's craft that does some really beyond human maneuvers and does some really weird crap. We have the Bigfoot sightings, we have Dogman sightings, which
Mm.
bona fide people see. So if the government know, what is the reason? What would the reason be? Put yourself in their position. What would the reason be that you wouldn't want to tell the people? And that brings up the Margaret Thatcher bit, doesn't it? Don't tell the people about Rendlesham Forest. Um, but
Well,
why would that be?
she. Sorry, Phil, but she did say it was a real event.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so.
Hmm. Keith said, "Hi, Keith. Not all the same. Janu and Tracon are different. Tracon were brought to Earth to mine. Right? Yeah. Okay. So, with Janu, they're like Bigfoot. Yeah, they're wild man, woodwows,
Mm.
same type of thing. But they have uh, another breed of. Correct me if I'm wrong, Keith, on this, but there's the Tracon which were brought down. The Tracon we sometimes call the lizard people or the people
Mm.
that live underground.
Yeah.
And they originally used to work for the Janu or the Bigfoot, the wild man, the woodwows. They worked for them mining. I believe it was gold,
Mm.
but other precious metals as well that is needed, because they came from the Janu originally came from another planet. Their planet was destroyed, not literally blew up. It didn't. It just, from what I gather, it went through a catastrophe and everything turned out to be fire and red and just it was uninhabitable. So it's told Janu to us, Bigfoot, Woodwows, blah, blah, came here through a portal and then set up on this earth, and that's why they're protecting it, this earth. But they're not indigenous to this
Mm.
earth; they are from somewhere else. Which once again brings up the fact of no one's right, no one's wrong. I can't say that it's wrong. I can't say it's right. It's just one of these
Mm.
things that is put out there, and you've got to take it on the chin. Oh, all right then. A bit like me saying taking it on the chin. In a way, you have to, from the point of view of perhaps what they're worried about is the type of communication that people have had in the past with, for a start, with aliens, has been almost autonomous. The the type of interaction, the way they've acted, has been robotic. It's been Men in Black are often called not quite right, not quite
Mm.
human. They're like kind of very pale. They're very almost like as if they've dipped their face into wax and just like
Mm.
put this mask on. Um, not just something very off about them, and the way they talk and the way they speak, their communication is not like us. It's very what's the word? With us, we're kind of, all right, mate, how you doing? You all right? God, I had a
Mm.
hell of a week at work. I haven't believe it. What a week. It was awful, Ian. Awful. With them, they're kind of,
Mm.
they come to your
Yeah.
door. Are you Ian? Do you work at blah, blah, blah?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you would make a joke. Oh, is this a wind up? And they'd be like, silent. There would be that kind of autonomous thing. So there's two ways to go. If there is a case that these things are robots, then yes, of course, it's going to be something that they're going to hug and mug up to themselves. It's going to be something which, because we're not dealing with something which is breathing, needs food, needs water, it's something completely different. It's autonomous, and its way of thinking, presuming it's got AI, um, would be programmed. Who
Yeah.
programs it? Don't know. That might be the scary part. Who programs it? But we know that with Sabe, Bigfoot, uh, Janu, the wild man, we know that they are often seen where people have spotted UFOs. That's correct, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So there's a correlation there between the two. So if the aliens, it's just a hypothesis, if the aliens are robotic, of course they don't want us knowing that they're robots, because you can't, it's like War of the Worlds. It's very, very difficult. And I don't think it's going to be bacteria that are going to be getting rid of this lot.
Mm.
So it's going to be, because it's so different. It's just so completely alien. Uh, there's no reaching out to something like that, because you can't sit down and let's have a cup of tea and a biscuit and chat about it. Can't have that,
Mm.
because it's totally different. It's totally alien. It doesn't need it. Doesn't require it. And it might go some way because of witness testimony where they've been abducted, and they often say had no empathy. These beings
Yeah.
have no empathy towards their, I don't like to say victim, towards their person they've abducted. There's
Yeah.
nothing there. Very often they say, "Why are you screaming?" As if they
Mm.
can't understand the whole gist of, well, actually, you got me on the table and you're probing me. It's not great. Um, so you've got that going on. So if Bigfoot and Dogman, just say also Dogman, because Dogman is often seen via military sites. That's another thing. UFOs, just recently, military sites. If there is a connection, there is either one or two ways, I think. And it's either that they are from this race of beings, entities, let's call them machine men,
Mm. Yeah.
or and they're genetically made by them, because they need something organic down there. They need something which can is not so if they are automated, they do a really crap job. I'm talking aliens. They do a really crap job, and they've done a really crap job at trying to understand humankind, and they've done a crap job at trying to communicate with us. They cannot get it. They cannot communicate, and they're pretty rubbish. They're very stuttered, jilted. They're very kind of like
Mm.
they have no empathy. They can't understand us, so they're really programmed like with crap. Whoever done that was like not great. So it must be something which is completely contrast to our way of life. So by having Dogman, which for all intents and purposes uh, is phenomenal in its element of forests, woods. I have even heard of mountainous regions and deserts. I've heard
Yeah.
people talk that they've seen evidence of dogmen in deserts. The chap I spoke to about this won't come on, but he's military. But he said that but not giving too much away. When he was stationed in a country with a desert,
Mm.
and he said, sure as it's day, he said it had a wolf's head, man's body, but it ran. Its legs were the other way around like a dog, and it had just speed was incredible. Couldn't keep
Oh
up in
yeah,
the
yeah,
Jeep.
yeah,
Could
yeah.
not keep up in the Jeep. They were doing like
I,
55, 60 over rough ground, which is a lot, and the Jeep nearly went over, Ian. The Jeep nearly went over because they
yeah,
can't.
I mean, I don't know if it's Tunisia or Morocco where they're actually officially recognised as part of the wildlife.
Ah,
Yeah, yeah. It's one of the early episodes of Dogman Encounters. Vic had a lady on who came. I think it's probably Morocco.
mm,
It's in these first 100 episodes. One of those. And she said that they had a wildlife program documentary. It lasted an hour, done in the 1990s. But she said in her country, that they're officially recognised. They're part of the wildlife.
mm,
So, to them, that they're just about as real as cows, sheep, goats, birds.
mm.
They're just part of every daily life. And she says normally they just they'll steal a goat. She said they had one that used to steal a goat off her father's farm, but they just take what they needed. So
But one thing that gets me with Dogman, after we've witnessed it, and the one thing that gets me is it's I can walk past, and I have walked past one which has been no more than 5 foot away.
yeah.
5 foot
Oh yeah,
away.
yeah.
And it's not I didn't notice it. Blinders about. I didn't notice it at the time. It's only until I upload the film and then
Yeah.
I have, a viewer who turns around and says, "Phil," gives me a timestamp. "Look, I saw blah 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 blah." And I
Yeah.
go back, I look, and I go, "Oh, hell, yeah." I could feel. I know I sensed something there.
Yeah.
We sense it, like that scopocepia. We know when we're being looked at, but I didn't see it. So where does this ability that? I mean, is it if it's evolution that is able to disappear like that, literally behind the tree? I mean, these things are. People talk about Bigfoot and being 4 foot across, a big wild man, 4 foot across at the shoulder. When you see a a proper adult male dogman unit,
Mm.
it's tall and it's broad. It's got a thin waist, but it's tall and it's broad, isn't it? It's big at the top. It's quite impressive.
Yeah. Well,
It's a killing machine. No.
yeah. I mean, Colino at Dane's Dyke. I mean, one was behind a tree and it was doing a very bad job of hiding. Its head either side of the tree, the ears, the arms, the shoulders. And it was only when I went to take a picture of it, it was gone. Now, the really weird thing, at the bottom of the tree, someone had dumped 3 tires. And it's only when I was looking at the picture later, I realised there was 4 tires.
Ah. Mm.
It pretended to be a tire when I was taking the picture. So it dug down,
Mm.
trying to curl itself up, tucked its head in. So when I took the picture, obviously I'm not thinking, oh, there's a 4th tire. I was just like, oh, it's gone. So, but I still took the tire. It's only when I'm looking later. Sorry, I took the picture. It's only later when I realised that there's 4 tires there.
Mm. See, it's clever. It's clever. It's clever, and it just knows and it senses. With your experience, can I ask you something? Right, the AI images are not far off. the AI renditions of it are not
Yeah.
far off. You know, the ones I've seen a couple which have been pretty good, pretty bang on to the ones I've seen. And I haven't seen a type for I call them type threes. Often only seen them twice, and that the most impressive time was when I saw two together, and they were a bit
Mm.
of a distance, but they just ran through blackcurrant bushes like they weren't there. No sound.
Yeah.
They make no sound, none at all. And you just think,
No.
how on earth do they do that? You know the way they look, the claws, the teeth, all of
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
right. So my question is, all right. If they were made by evolution, if they were evolutionary, honed, like a lot of animals are, either adapted for their environment, which adapts their body type and what they're able to do. If they're climbers, they're obviously going to be a lot bigger with the arms, and
Mm.
they're going to be more ectomorph types, and boom, 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 boom. If they are as they are that we see with the big claws, the big teeth, and just incredibly fast. And this kind of this almost like crocodiles or that have this infrasound. They emit this feeling of dread and kind of, but you can't move. You just have to watch
Mm.
still in that bubble of silence. If they have this ability, what is it that evolution? What was their prey like? That evolution honed them to be so just predatory and just so what would they what on earth were they trying to hunt? What was extinct now that they were trying to hunt to make them massive claws, massive teeth? Do you see what I mean?
Well, yeah. I mean, even if you go back 10, 15,000 years, you look at the size of some of the mammals that were running around on the on the steppe or the savannah or the prairie. You would need big teeth and claws to take something down. But
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, even today, specifically, if you think about North America, Canada, you look at the size of some of these elk and moose, and then you got the bears on top of it. So if you wish to be like top of the tree, as the film says, you would need a particular set of skills
Yeah.
in order to adapt
Yeah.
and
Mm.
take on any newcomers that you might come across. I mean, besides some of their like telepathic abilities, or the cloaking abilities. I mean, they can swim underwater. They can obviously accelerate at great speed, and even maintain that speed over long distances. Their ability to, as I've experienced myself, somehow get inside a house without ripping a door off or smashing a window.
Mm. Yep. I've got a lady in America, Tonya, and spoke to her a couple of times, and she moved into her place a few years back, lives by a cemetery,
Mm.
moved into her place, and if you're watching Tonya, hello, Tonya Ashton, her name is, lovely lady,
Yeah,
and she's got resident in the local area, a Bigfoot and a Dogman, and she said they both work together, and they very often end up in her house. She sees them in the kitchen, and she says it's like a shimmer. They're like an outline, a shimmer. But she said
yeah, yeah,
it
yeah, yeah.
sounds as if I'm mad. I know how it sounds, but she said honestly, Phil. She said if you can imagine like the Predator, it's like that. It's like a
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
shimmering. It's
yeah,
like
yeah. Many, like I say, for a long time I was going to Noonie Woods, and I saw the wild man up there or around there, going strictly 7 times. And like I said, I just, they're not my bread and butter. But the one time where I was actually probably 16, 17, probably 2018, having coffee and sandwiches, because sometimes I used to go out all morning and then into the mid-afternoon. But the one time when I was in Nurney Woods, I sat down having coffee and sandwiches, and about 300 meters off to my right, leaning on one knee, looking at me like the shimmering predator thing.
Mm.
And I like double checked, and I waved to it, and its head looked up to its right, and of course I followed, and there, leaning against a tree, leg crossed, arms folded, nonchalantly leaning against a tree, was another one. And
It
I
wasn't. You
thought,
sure it wasn't? You sure it wasn't like a mushroom popped into your sandwich or something?
no, hell no.
It's incredible. It's
I, I,
incredible.
I don't do that kind of pharmaceutical. So,
No.
so obviously, threw my coffee out, packed my sandwiches. As soon as I got up and started walking towards them, they both upright and boom, gone.
It's funny when you see that, Jim.
So
It's funny.
I don't know how long they were looking at me, but it's only when I looked up and I looked over to my right that one was like down on one knee, looking at me, and I waved to it, and then it turned its head, looked up, and this other one was leaning against a tree, and I was like, "Oh, holy cow, this is awesome!" And I started to walk, and they just both upright and boom.
I know it's incredible. I've only witnessed it really clearly once. I got it on video. Funny enough,
Oh
I managed
wow,
to get it on video.
yeah.
Yeah. I'll bring that up actually in a bit. We've got a question from Ready Steady Retro. Question: has anyone in the UK collected or claimed to have collected any Sasquatch DNA in the UK? Ian?
Oh, that's a good one. Myself personally, I don't know of anyone, but I wouldn't be surprised if other researchers in our line of work have attempted or have already gained DNA. Specifically wildman DNA. It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, obviously, it's something that we would have to reach out to some people and see if such DNA. Myself, I've tried looking for examples of werewolf, great wolf DNA, but specifically fur. I have found big piles of poo, but at the time, my then partner wouldn't let me keep it in the frickin' freezer.
Do you know? I won't tell Roxy B this, right? But hopefully she won't be listening. She'll be like kind of busy making a pom pom. She's into pom pom making. But yeah,
Oh right,
that I spoke to you about that. Yeah, pom poms. Yeah. I
yeah.
got for her birthday a pom pom maker. She's obsessed. Absolutely. I think it's turning into a bit of a issue, to be honest. But yeah, it's got pom pom earrings. It's just like weird. But anyway, yeah, I saw that scat. I found scat and I videoed it. But no, it's just putting it in the freezer. I was going to put it in a bag, put it in the freezer, next to the sausages. But I thought it's risky, innit? You
It
know,
is.
it is a bit risky. If Roxy's, I think, even more if she cooks it up for me for breakfast.
A damning indictment, sir.
Got Keith Aston, not sure who used them, but going back to Egyptian times, they do have carving of alien type people and also dogmen.
Yeah, yeah,
Ah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. There's even cave paintings of humans and wolf people hunting together.
mm, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I said, I mean, it was a thing I was mentioned to Cole about it, and um, oh, I've got a couple of photos actually. Got a couple of photos. You know, being in the hot weather and heat, and I
Mm.
sent out some mugs. I've got some mugs made up, special mugs.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so yeah, so I sent them out. I sent Dawnio one. Let's have a look. And she sent a photo. So she's got that, which is very lovely of her. She posted that on Facebook, which is a nice, you know, lovely, nice
Yeah.
thing to do, I think, you know. And then our friend Colin sent me this, which would just like I think I'm going to need therapy after this. I mean, look at the state of that. I mean, honestly, talk about dressing up for the thing. You know, it's got you know, it's holding my mug up to the camera, and he's just like, look a string vest. Might as well
You
wear a bit
see,
of string vest.
that's purely for the female audience.
That's enough of that then, I think.
You know.
Yeah, yeah. God bless him. He's lovely, lovely guy. He's a nice guy.
Oh, hell yeah, yeah, yeah,
He's a
yeah.
right good laugh, and he's a right good laugh. Um, I'm going to put on a little video. I know I talked about shimmering. Now, this entity that
Mm.
I saw shimmered, and it was a gold silver color in. Okay, so
Oh,
I'm just
right,
gonna,
okay.
yeah. First of all, the story is I was walking along, and it was daytime, and I was in some quite thick woods, not massive, but I would say they're I don't know the hectares and stuff, but I would say it's about one, two, three, four, about 4 or 5 miles square, if you like, that side of wood, that size of wood,
Okay.
relatively big, yeah, relatively big. And I had Ruby and Bears with me, two Jack Russell Terriers. And all of a sudden, I saw some deer, and I thought, "Oh my word, they look lovely! Look at those deer!" And like you, I used my camera and I zoomed in because cameras have got great zoom, and I zoomed in on a deer. Now the deer had stopped, and the deer were looking at something.
Mm.
At that point, Ruby and Baz uh, started circling me, which in dog language is protection. Started circling me. I had their leads on at the time because there was deer there. I didn't want them chasing the deer, you know. Um, Not because I was worried about deer. It's just that you know when a deer kicks a little Jack Russell Terrier, that's it, you know. But
Mm.
anyway, so they were circling me and they had leads on, so they tied me up, and I was like, "Oh, for goodness sake!" I was like, "Oh, really?" And so I paused the filming temporarily. Paused it just to untangle him. Oh, you can hear me on the video going, "Oh, you little sods, what you done? Come on, let's get you untangled."
Mm.
So I had to unclip them, hold their collar there. And then I put the camera back up to where the deer were. That's all I was interested in. I saw nothing else at the time. Well, as soon as I put the camera back up, I then noticed something glinting, and it was a gold silver color. And it was just bright, bright. And I think this was a dogman. And behind it, coming out the forest or the
Mm.
wood, was a Bigfoot. I'm gonna put it on and see what and be honest, people, see because I had a lot of stick over this. I've had a lot of stick over this. Some people said, "Yep, yep, great," and you know, I definitely back you up. Other people, no, definitely not. I can understand both. I can understand both schools of thought. All right, I'll share a screen. Let's go have a look. Ba 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 ba. No, yeah, that one. Right. Okay, I'm gonna share the screen. Okay. Right, just 1 minute. I'm gonna get it a big page. Okay, there you go. Right. Okay. Right. View on StreamYard. Yes, it is working. That's good. Let me just alter the page size if I can. Right. Okay. So over here, I'll play it now. Play it a couple times so you get go.
Hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah, it definitely looks like a wild man. That.
Mm.
Oh no, actually, no, it definitely on that last one, it definitely a snout there.
Mm. Look at this though. The deer were looking at it, not me. They're not looking at me. Well,
Mm.
that one is, but you know, they were looking across. There was something that vexed them. There was something that they didn't like. This gold. Look at that.
Mm.
Yeah, I'll stop that sound. There's no point. But yeah. Did you see it?
Yeah, it looks like
So
one of those, like a 4-foot statue, one of those
mm,
Anunnaki type,
yeah,
sort of.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's something that wasn't there before. And then it kind of like just appeared, and it was like this gold shimmer. It doesn't do it justice on film, but it was very, very bright, very gold, and just like kind of shining. And it was like there. A lot of people said, "Oh, it's a bush fill.
No,
it's a tree stump." I said, "No, it's not a tree stump. It's not a tree
no,
stump. That's too
no.
gold coloured." But it's funny that you had that entity coming out of the wood behind it towards it as well. So the deer were looking at the gold thing, and that forest creature. I would probably say, I don't know, it was big, it was wide. It was wide coming out there, coming
Yeah,
out
hell of a
coming
chest
out.
on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hell of a chest on it. But that was coming towards the gold entity as well. But it was shimmering. It was a shimmering gold,
Mm.
I think Dogman, because I can see ears on it. When I looked and closer, I can see no
Yeah.
close up.
In the last still, you can definitely see the snout and the teeth.
Yeah. And that was that's about the only time I've seen the shimmer.
Mm.
No, but
Well,
dogs knew.
yeah. Well, the say the shimmering. I mean, to me, it was like that Predator shimmering. You know, out of
Mm,
the first Predator movie, and these things were about sort of 7-8 foot tall, both of them
mm,
at the time. But I do have maybe 2 or 3 pictures of a wild man in Nooney Woods when they were wrecking a tree. It was about 6 o'clock Saturday morning, and because I found it, June, July, August. If you go up like early in the morning on a weekend, you certainly where I used to go, you'd always get something. And like I say, I was walking about half a mile into the wood, and this hell of a noise. It was like they had a wrecking ball in there, and they were just destroying the place. So I finally found the tree that had been wrecked. I mean, literally smashed to pieces,
mm,
but there was no one around. I realised that something was behind me, so I flicked the screen on the camera on the phone, and his head is sticking out between 2 trees, about sort of maybe 7-8 foot behind me. You
mm,
know, it had a conical head, but
yeah.
there must have been about 2 or 3 of them because this tree was a huge thing.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
over it's smashed in the middle.
I
So
know we spoke briefly about this before, but w- like with Tonya Ashton, she said that they both work together. Do they work together, Ian?
I've heard examples of, but from my own personal experience,
Mm,
they they may live in the same area, but there is a marker line. There is a red line in the mud, and they stay either side of it. But I
Okay.
do believe that the wolves will eat young sabe, eat the young wood people, forest people, because there's a lot of meat on the bone on those things.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine that.
I
I
I
can imagine that.
I've told you about my former mother-in-law from Nepal and her mother.
Mm.
You know, with the Yeti, and why the tigers are the mountain. You know, the Himalayan tigers, same as the Siberian tigers. Their spine are 2 foot longer
Right.
than the tigers down in the plains in the south.
Okay. Right. Let's hear it. Let's hear
And
it, Kim.
well, basically, where her grandmother used to go washing the clothes in the river, there was a Yeti used to take a path and you know just walk past them
Yeah.
and leave them alone. He said, but one day this tiger ambushed it and it leapt up and got its teeth right into the neck.
Mm.
And he said basically it killed the Yeti. And
Okay.
basically that was dinner. But you know what was interesting? She said, as long as the tiger can get past the gate, you know, the arms, the tiger
Mm.
will always win. No matter how powerful this thing is or how big it is, you know, as soon as those teeth are right in the neck,
Mm.
that's it. As long as he can get past the arms, like in a rapid surprise attack, and it can latch on there. That's it. Game over.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
you know, I mean, she said her mother, all the women just packed their stuff up and
Mm.
run like hell. But um, yeah, she said. No, I always find that the most interesting point was the fact that once it goes through the arms uh, and get its teeth in, it's game over. No matter
Yeah.
how much this thing tries to pull it off.
Mm.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
if it catches it like mid-air and smashes it, you know, the tiger's in a lot of pain. But she always said, so I can get past the arms, get its head and the teeth sank in. He said, game over.
Yeah. Dornio says apparently in America there's a Bigfoot that breed with a Dogman, and they had children.
Yeah. Yeah. Why not? I mean, um, anything's possible.
Well, yeah, at the moment we just don't know. We don't know. The only thing we do know really is they're out there because people have seen them, and
Yeah.
you know,
I mean, you know, sometimes it's like no matter how much foot or field work that you do, and just when you think you're starting to get a few answers, something else pops up that makes you think, right, back to square one.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
I I I I mean, I'm um I told you about the Loch Marvin vampire thing, right? I'll tell you about that one. It,
remind me, remind
it's
me.
it was a cousin of Robert the Bruce, and his cousin got turned by an Englishman that was on the run from Edward. I think Edward the First. This thing's been around 700 years. It's been photographed. It's documented. So I just kind of got to thinking, you know, we have Bigfoot, we have werewolves, dogmen, whatever you want to call them. We have aliens. So, can something survive physical death and then come back as something else? And
Hmm.
but the thing is, there's a couple of Serbian cases from the Habsburg Empire in the 1720s, 30s, and 40s. And the thing is, one of these things was exhumed, and the royal surgeon of the Austro-Hungarian army was sent from Vienna to do the autopsy on this thing. And he wrote a full report. And luckily enough, the whole thing was translated into English. And I recently bought the book because I just wanted to read what the surgeon said.
Mm.
You know what was, and I would think 18th century. I know medicine was only just modern medicine was just coming into its sort of domain, you know, whatever. But the thing is, any field surgeon would have you know, especially a military field surgeon would have a very good understanding
Yeah.
of viscera, internal organs, blood flow, wounds. So
Um, I I think all of this mythology does stem from a thread of truth. I do honestly think it does. And I
mm,
think we always have lived in a um, a bit of a unreal world. I think it was Arthur C. Clarke that once said famously that uh, he said that if specifically with Alien, but he
mm.
said it's borderline magic. He said,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
we can construe it as being magic. It's so um, just bizarre. It's bizarre some of the stuff that happens. But yeah, the vampire thing. I did look on Facebook. I'm just trying to get it up now. Here we go. Right, this I spotted on Facebook. I'll get this up. Hold on, Ian. Very interesting. This one. We'll get this up. Hang on. Let's have a look. Uh, share. But right. Okay. Let's have a look. See if it's. Yeah. Right. Okay. Um. So right. Vampires. This is by Hugh Williams.
Yeah.
Wrote this. I shared it onto my page. Vampires once infested the borderlands of Wales, according to the 12th century courtier Walter Map. Yes, in probably the earliest written story concerning anything resembling a vampire, Map recounted the true story of the greatest marvel that I know. A Norman knight named William of Loudon approached the Bishop of Hereford one day with a real problem. A certain Welsh malefactor had died on his manor as a non-believer, and after 3 days and nights rose from the dead to wander around Sir William's farm at night. The undead man summoned each tenant to come forth from their home, calling them by their name. Then they grow ill and die within 3 days, and only a few now survive. The bishop advised the knight to dig up the corpse during daylight. I won't say that, but basically, uh, uh, um, with its throat, something with its throat, then drenched the whole grave in holy water. This was done, but the revenant kept
Mm,
coming back until one night it summoned Sir William himself, calling his name 3 times. Grabbing his sword, the knight rushed out to confront the thing, chasing it to its grave. There he sliced off its head completely. From that hour ceased the persecution from this ghastly wanderer. However, the matter of this thing we know of, its causes we are ignorant of. map recorded another instance of this plague. We're calling it a plague is interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
In the same general area between Hereford and Brecon, where a mob of peasants chased the revenant and surrounded it in an orchard before forcing it to the grave and burying it with a large cross weighing it down. The same practice of calling a victim out by name was employed by Richard Matheson in his apocalyptic vampire novella, I Am Legend. So it's kind of uh you saying it's in our very own DNA, in our folklore, very,
Mm,
very close to home. Very close to home.
yeah.
I remember going to Highgate Cemetery. I went there. I don't know the
Ah,
video. Highgate, yeah, yeah, yeah. And people that I spoke to, they were working. There was one lovely lady. A lot of them were volunteers, and they go around pick up bits of litter, and they got the high vis and everything. But they do things like that. They keep Highgate Cemetery in good nick. A lot of these very old cemeteries,
yeah,
there's
yeah,
portions of them which are kind of like left to nature and they get overgrown, which is a shame when you see the graves all overgrown and pardon me, almost forgotten. I'll have to edit that out. I can't slide. But anyway, yeah, and it's all overgrown. But Highgate is very nice. And there's two
yeah,
sections. You've got the south and then you've got the north, and there's a road in the middle. You do have to pay to get in. You can go on tours, but yeah, you have to pay to get in. Um, because it is quite famous. But I was talking to one lovely lady there, and I said, "Oh, I heard about the vampire with and the people coming with the. This is only in the 1970s, in the
yeah, 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 yeah.
1970s.
It was on the
Basically,
news.
yes,
Yeah,
yes. And the local, should we call them peasants, locals, kind of probably just like switched off news round and thought, yeah, all right, let's get the flaming
yeah, yeah,
torches
yeah,
and pitchforks, and off they went. And they had stakes. They had sort of carrying stakes. Can you imagine that now? Be like, oh, what do
yeah,
you think you're doing? Yeah, that's how. Um, that's how back then believable we interpreted that kind of thing.
yeah, yeah,
It
yeah,
was interpreted by us to be, and that was it. Vampire people saw a vampire. Is there going to be a vampire there? A lot of that now. The problem is, I think, with us, and this goes with vampires especially, but with a lot of other things, it's all watered down. When we go onto social media, it's kind of we're inundated, and it's kind of like it waters down to such a point that it almost becomes commonplace. We become complacent. If someone turned around to you now and said, "You know, your local cemetery, there's a vampire down there," you'd be like, "Oh, really?" But if you heard about it on social media, you would automatically, "Oh, really? Oh, yeah, okay." Yeah, someone else, another ghost hunter that's seen wants to make a buck or wants to make a name for himself. Oh, he's seen a vampire. He what? Oh, I suppose he's seen like someone walking through the cemetery at midnight, and they've taken it to be a vampire. Because it's all with social media, it's all kind of like, and it goes with UFOs and with Dogman to a certain degree as well. It's kind of it's so prevalent and it's so in our face all the while. Whereas
mm,
in the 70s, we never had it. A lot of it, they probably found out word of mouth. They're
yeah,
probably on a
yeah,
garden fence. That's how they found out about it. I mean, obviously it was on the news as well, but yeah, that's how they kind of like, oh God, did you see the news on news rounds? Yeah, yeah, Highgate. Yeah, flipping vampire. No way. Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah,
like,
yeah,
and that was it, wasn't it? Now it's kind of like
yeah,
we've got so much content. The content doesn't mean very much because there's so much content.
yeah,
It's watered. It just doesn't do it. And that's why really I think with Dogman, I think it's probably slightly different because we are on the fringes. Dogman is not as well known as Janu, Bigfoot, Woodwose, Sabe. It's not as prevalent as that. Bigfoot,
it's not,
everyone's.
as I like to probably think, it's not fashionable.
Mm. Yeah.
I think it's more easy to relate to having something that's bigger but more human-like, as opposed to something where you think all the werewolf films that have been produced, decade after decade since cinema came into effect.
Mm.
You're just going to associate these things with just being really, as Terry Thomas would say, you downright rotter. Just being really
Yeah.
horrible things. But to me, they're not. I say I've been doing this 9 years, and only once, where I thought I was a goner, but
Mm.
it was still telling me, go. So
Yeah, I wouldn't have jumped on the bandwagon. The only, as people know, the only reason I've done this YouTube business is, because I thought I had stomach cancer at the time, and I thought,
mm,
I want to get it down. And if you look at my old stuff, never once is there video. It's all audio. I just wanted to get the stories down and get the stories
yeah,
out there, so the stories are out there just in case something did happen. Thank God it didn't, and that's fine. And it just sort of naturally, organically grew. But
yeah,
I think with a lot of what we face with Dogman is you're right. It isn't as uh, in vogue, if you
yeah,
like.
yeah, 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 yeah.
I remember I'll use the analogy of when I was a kid, I knew bugger all about football. I was
Mm,
the I was 13 stone as a kid. My mum had a mentality of like kind of I was quite sickly when I was a kid. I had bronchitis and I had to have my tonsils out. I saw Noddy on the train. I hallucinated seeing Noddy and Big Ears on the train in my lounge. I was like well out of it. I was like, and so she borrowed money off grandma to kind of get the tonsils done privately because the NHS were like, oh, get in the queue. And I was like really young. And but I was always kind of like sickly. And then mum had this thing of let's feed him up because when he's big, you know, he's healthy. It's the old
yeah,
fashioned type
yeah,
of thing.
yeah, yeah.
Because it means, I suppose, mentally, it means like kind of you're prosperous. You have money. That's why a lot of old paintings, when you see a lot of old portrait paintings, the lady is of the larger size, and that's because she's able to be because she feeds well, she eats well,
Mm,
and it means kind of. But anyway, I was 13 stone and 13 years old. I was a big lad. I was basically a square. And I can remember, I'm getting to the point, bear with me. I remember being in a school playground, and all the kids would be, there'd be like a couple of really sporty kids into football. They knew every team, they knew every player, and they'd be like,
mm,
oh, right, oh, yeah, we'll have him, we'll have him, we'll have him, we'll have him. I was always the last one. It
yeah,
was me and another guy who looked like Mr. Magoo. He had like wine bottles at the bottom of wine bottles. He had glasses like that.
yeah,
He couldn't see a ball for love nor money. But they still chose him over me. That's how bad I was. And we're the last two kids left, and so I wasn't that great. But when I was asked, "Oh, what team do you support?" I used to think, "Oh, uh, which ones are winning at the moment?" Oh yeah, yeah. Whatever it was, Tottenham Hotspur, Manchester United. Don't have a go in the comments. It just like plucking it out there. I really don't know about football, but I used to choose the team which was most kind of well going up the
yeah.
regular.
Going up with, yeah, yeah, yeah. Going
Yeah,
up the table.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't. Yeah, going up the tables. I wouldn't choose the bottom one, and
No.
I think a lot of that is to do with what we do. People don't jump on board with Dogman so much because there is the Patson film, there is the Patty film, there is people who have seen the footprints of good standing. David Attenborough, I remember seeing him on TV, and he was
Yeah.
talking. He was in the Himalayas, and he saw that track the tracks in the snow. And he said, I think he was like 13,000 feet. And he said, it was virtually impossible. He said, why would anyone go up there 13,000 feet? He said, that is hard slog at that height. To walk across snowfield to then disappear up some rocks. He said it doesn't make any sense at all. And his tracks were huge. I mean, you must have seen them, famous ones. But because we have all of this highbrow, or almost not highbrow, but we have this high in our face content, which kind of like is bona fide content in a
Mm.
way, because Patty film, it's a source of contention, but it's pretty convincing. It is pretty convincing. And for us with Dogman, we're trying. We're constantly trying. A lot of our American brothers are trying, but we don't seem to get the results. Definitely not the prints. I mean, there's one guy in America that's a friend of mine, Noxium, I think his name is. I'm sorry, mate, if you're watching this and they got your name wrong. I did do an interview with him, and he takes a lot of tracks and Dogman tracks. And he's got that thin heel and wider, the
Mm.
wider part the toes are, and it goes into a very thin heel, very convincing tracks. But it's not as kind of accepted. We're on the fringe of the cryptid
Yeah,
world when it comes to
yeah,
that, very much so. It's a shame, I think.
yeah. It is. It is. Yeah.
Keith said David Farrant saw a grey shape in the cemetery. He saw it through the fence. Oh right, that must be yeah, at yeah, the cemetery I was talking about. Yeah, yeah, the vampire cemetery. And I saw and heard and videoed a Dogman creature, which I would want to put as Dogman type 1, which is a quadrupedal type, at
Mm.
Camberwell Cemetery. And that was quite a thing when I saw that. And that's when I got the voice as well, another voice. That's
Yeah, yeah.
Phil Beware. Always robotic, Ian. Always robotic. Uh, always explain things correctly. I'm here to please, like a firing squad. I aim to please. But yeah, so it's fascinating, but it's a shame that it doesn't get the same coverage. I think
Yeah,
Dogman should. Don't you think?
yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. But I say, really, I mean, if Patterson and Gimlin had filmed a werewolf walking across that riverbed that day back in the 60s,
Yeah.
yeah, it'd be werewolf, great wolf, Dogman, and maybe maybe Bigfoot would be a fringe subject. I
Mm.
mean, apparently the first film, because I think Patterson Gimlin was 1966, but there's a guy, I think Daniel Ford, um, filmed one in '63. But the thing is, it's not the right in your face, clear as day, like the Patterson Gimlin film,
Right.
right? But the I think I think it's Daniel Ford, but the film in '63, you can see it. This big, huge, hairy man-like creature walking in between the trees.
Mm.
You can see it, but it's not. And you get the side and then the back as it's walking away, but it's not the OMG like the '66 film.
No.
So
No, that's the thing, isn't it? That's the thing. We haven't. I think because of I personally, I think why it is because when you look at its body structure, uh, it is a big beast. This Sabe, this wild man, is a big beast, and once again, I'm not sure if it's evolution. I'm not sure quite what it was evolved to to prey on. But it does look like a huge wild man that you often see in English churches above the door as you enter.
Mm,
You often see them holding a club. And the
yeah.
reason they put those on the churches is because, which you think to yourself, hang on a minute, it's a Christian church. Why has he got pagan, a
Yeah.
pagan kind of, why is that? Why? And evidently, a lot of times they used to do that because they so feared it. It had such a reputation, this woodwoes with a club, that was protection for the church. Now, how about that? A
Yeah.
Christian church believing in Christ has that, a pagan.
I we once went to see some friends of my ex-partner. We got invited for a Saturday evening, and then I mean, they were very Church of England every Sunday. The village they lived in near Pangbourne had a church that went back to Saxon times.
Mm,
Uh, and one day she goes, "Oh, I'll show you the church because we're renovating inside because the old plaster's fallen off, you know."
mm.
And we walked inside. It was a magnificent building, but where the plaster had fallen off, you could see where the original artwork was, and you could see an outline of the god Sununos on the inside of this church. The deer antlered man.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. Serenus, or
yeah, yeah,
Serenus, the horned god of the woods. Yeah,
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 yeah. Inside a Christian Saxon church.
mm,
And I
yeah,
said, "Are you going to protect that?" And she goes, "No, we're going to plaster it back up." I said, "Well,
yeah,
you got to get pictures of that."
yeah.
But
It's strange,
I,
isn't it? It's like it kind of doesn't really. There's a symbiotic kind of, if you like, mixing up of religions almost when it comes to
yeah,
um using these pagan deities as protection, when you would imagine that the and I'm
it,
Christian. I believe in the word of Christ because it's helped me out
it's
before now.
it's like they were never ever truly converted.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And when we
I
talk
mean,
about
I say the
it's
best example of that is the Egyptian Coptic Church, because you can actually mark the date. I think it's 391 AD in August,
mm,
where the official religion Amun Ra
yeah,
ends, and then the next day in the same temple the Coptic Church is born.
yeah,
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 on the Nile island of Elephantine,
mm,
and suddenly, basically, um, the cult of Amun Ra is now the cult of Christ. But
yeah,
with a nod and a wink to the layman, they think we're adoring Christ, but we're still adoring Amun Ra.
mm,
You know,
yeah.
we've just rebranded. You know,
Yeah, in a way, I think I mean, I believe in Christ. I am Christian, but I do see an awful lot of bleed over on with other religions, which you can't really account for. It's like there's been like the famous Younger Dryas, the Great Flood, written
mm,
about in many religions, and you think, hang on a minute,
ye-
it must have
yeah,
happened. Quick one. Keith Aston said Dogman only gets noticed because of the land between the lake killings. Well, I,
yeah. Well,
I,
yeah, yeah.
I beg to differ. I think with that it was debunked. The land between the lake killings. I think those were. I believe they were debunked. Uh, I think that was
Mm,
because a lot of the witnesses didn't come forward. They didn't want to be known, and it wasn't the great amount of witnesses that they said it was. And they had the ones that did come forward, if I remember rightly, had different varying stories and timelines, which didn't add up.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. My battery's just gone down to 15%, and my phone's going to die on me anytime
Okay, mate,
soon.
no worries. You take care. Thank you for coming
It
on.
is.
Just a quick one. I wanted to say, about us and Dogman, right? You
Yeah.
can take it to be Little Red Riding Hood, because that dated
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
1697. Yeah,
Yeah.
1697.
What big teeth you have. Yeah.
What big teeth you have, and when you think about it, you think, oh. And the
Yeah.
thing is that it was written by this guy called Charles Perrault, Perrault, published in
Right.
1697.
Right.
And and variations across Europe of Little Red Riding Hood. But the one
Yeah.
thing which does stand out, is consistent, is there is a variations in different versions to call out a young girl encountering a wolf in the woods and facing a dangerous situation remains consistent. So too does the fact that the wolf assumes the grandma's persona, if you like.
Mm, yeah.
Makes you think, doesn't that?
Yeah.
But no, if you've got to go because your battery, that's fine. I get that. We are
Phil,
what 1 hour 38. So
Phil, if you text me your home address,
yeah,
I'll send you something about Land Between the Lakes, the DVD. There-
okay,
There's a,
yeah,
there's a
yeah,
there's a couple of autopsy photos in there of
okay,
the victims.
okay. That sounds interesting. Because I was only told about the debunking thing from an American guy on Kenny Fubadu, because he's got a channel and he was
Yeah,
talking, and he's got some sort of like people
I,
that
I
are.
I believe one of the witnesses have said he survived it. I know he got a lot of stick because they said the whole family had been murdered, but this guy said he survived.
Mm,
That he actually witnessed it. I mean, I've always found a bit hard to believe, but I believe something did happen. That's not to say
yeah,
that they're actually in that area, because sometimes that fish ranger, whatever you call it, the one that died of stomach cancer.
yeah,
He made a
yeah.
deathbed confession. He actually saw one kill a young
He
couple,
did. Yes, he did. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and a deathbed confession is considered like
Mm. Oh
verbatim.
yeah, yeah,
You know,
exactly. Yeah, you wouldn't waste your last few breaths on just
no,
a load of old. What's
no,
the point? You know.
absolutely, yeah,
Ian, lovely
absolutely.
talking to you. You
Thank you,
take
sir.
care, mate. All
You
right,
too,
thank
buddy.
you, sir. All
Take care,
right,
bye.
take care. Bye, bye. Right, okay. That's Ian, and it is 1 hour. Oh my word, 1 hour 40. Okay, I'm gonna let you let Roxy B tell you just a little strange thing that happened to us this week. Okay, but she sums things up a lot better. Me, I tend to go right around their houses, so yeah. I'll let her bring up a couple of things. Right, here we go. Hello, Roxy.
Hello.
Oh yeah, pom poms.
It's a couple of things.
Yeah,
Um,
obsessed. Right, I'm going to remove myself and I'm going to put the picture up for you.
okay, cool. So, as he said, I am a bit obsessed with the pom poms. I think that's one of the best things I've ever had. I just love making them. I've just done loads. Anyway, it's not what I'm talking about. So yesterday, I was chatting to Phil's mum, and we've got an Alexa. Shh. I've got an Alexa, and we talk to her on that. She just drops in randomly throughout the day in the evening, and we could be watching a film, and we get, "Hello, dear, just dropping in," and it's very lovely. She's 92, and for her to be able to do that and talk to us is brilliant. So I was talking about my pom pom maker and how brilliant it is. And all of a sudden she cut off. And if I don't know if you can see on screen what that says, but basically
I
that
can
is
just quickly, just to help out, because I know it's a
yeah,
small screen.
yeah,
What
very
it
tiny.
said to us. This is what it said to us. It said, "This call will be on background, attributable to a senior administration official. It will be embargoed until 5 a.m. tomorrow, Wednesday, July 31st." That's kind of like messed up, isn't it? You know, it's like kind of
Very,
for a start, it's like the date is absolutely till tomorrow, 5 a.m., Wednesday, July 31st, where you got your
yeah,
dates wrong for a start, but
yeah.
embargoed as well. But yeah, anyway, I just thought that's what it said. This call will be will be on background attributable to a senior administration official and will be embargoed until 5 a.m. tomorrow, Wednesday, July 31st. Right, okay, I'll let you carry on. But yeah, just
No,
weird. I
that
don't know
was
if anyone
it.
else has had Alexa.
And we couldn't get back on, could we? He's gone. He's left me. We couldn't get back on for quite a while. It was, you know, quite awful. But then, yeah, suddenly there she was. But earlier, Phil had been talking to someone that he's going to be putting out an interview he did, and the interview he had to keep stopping and
Oh yeah,
starting, didn't you?
yeah, I did. So sorry. Yeah, I
Mm.
interviewed this guy yesterday, American guy. It's a good interview, really good. I thought because I talked to my sort of chief UFO person, which is Chris Meacham, and he was part of CE5 group. He's got his own group now, and you know, CE5. They've had a lot of good things happen, you know, with the meditation and the come on down, and you know they've had a lot of light interaction and flashings, and you know they've got by asking they've had a result. So I'm not going to say I'm against it. It's just something I haven't tried. But anyway, and I mentioned about him to this guy that I was going to interview. Um, and I'll get the name up, full name. He was meant to come on, Scott Varden, onto this show as a live, but a full interview I'm going to be dropping. It's on members at the moment, but it's going to be dropping at midnight. And he's American. He's ex-forces. He's retired, ex-forces. Bless his heart. He's a lovely guy. Um, he's getting on a bit, but he was part of the military police. Then he was seconded into a secret section of this kind of intelligence branch where they were dealing with UFOs and aliens and stuff. And I was asking him these questions, and he was just because I spoke to Chris, and Chris, you know, told me, Chris Meacham said, "Oh, you're going to interview him?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to interview Scott." And he said, "Oh my word!" And Chris automatically had seen a couple of previous videos with him, and they weren't great interviews that he had before. I'm not dissing the guy doing the interviews, but it was basically, "Hi Scott, how you doing?" Wind him up and then let him roll. And the interviewer kind of just like let him roll and didn't interject, didn't question anything. And that's not a good interview. That's kind of like reading from a script. You need to sort of break things up, get people back on track, and you need to ask questions which you would want asked. You would want me to ask to find out, well, you know, what position did you hold within government? Who did you report to? All of these questions. And so I was there to do that. And the more I was talking to him, do you know what? The more I really did believe him. And I kind of haven't spoken to Chris Meacham yet about him, but I will do. I don't. I don't think. I even said to him, I said, "Look, a lot of people are going to think you're bonkers, lunatic." I was quite honest with him. I said, yeah. He said, "Yeah, I know. They probably will, Phil, but." He said, "I'm old. What have I got to lose?" He says, "You know, it happens, and I don't care anymore whether they believe me or not." I just want to get the account out there so it will help other people, hopefully, you know. And some of the stuff he was saying was just incredible, really, really incredible. And so I've got to talk to Chris. Chris, if you're watching, have a word with me about it, because honestly, I got a totally different sort of interview to what I've seen on TV previously with Scott. But yeah, it's going to be drop-ins on members at the moment, but then it'll be dropping at midnight 28th today. Yeah, midnight 28th. Yeah, that'll be the workout right. So I'll be dropping midnight. Check it out if you can. I'll put a link in on the description. Really good video. Right, okay. That's the promotional thing done. But you know, it is worth it. Honestly, I'm not saying it for promotion. It really is worth it. It's one of my better interviews. You know, I get a lot which are kind of like not that great because it's, you know, and then others you get little gems. And sometimes, and I take this one yesterday to be a little gem. I went into it thinking, oh well, Chris thinks he's a bit of a job, and I thought, oh, but no, really nice guy, very coherent. You know, is totally complimentous, and he was on the ball for his age. He was still on the ball. So yeah, take my hat off to him. Really nice guy as well. So yeah, check it out. Midnight. I'll put a description in the post here anyway. Scott Varden. But yeah, check it out. All right. Thanks, Rock. Sorry.
No, I that is basically what happened. So I've got nothing else to say on that matter. And if Phil's finished rambling on, are we just about done for tonight? Are we?
Yep, we're done. We're done. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate you watching. Thank you for putting up with me whittling on.
I've also got a new shirt. If I can just maneuver myself. Here we go. You see that there?
Oh,
like and subscribe.
Yeah, that's got see the ruby howling. Yeah.
So
no,
yeah,
I like it. Nice colour as well. I like the t-shirt colour. I got black.
Yes, no.
I thought that
goes nice with that design, doesn't it? But
yeah,
there's a couple of new designs out there. There's another one, and I'll be looking at the ranges when I get 5 minutes away from my pom poms, which is no, they don't take very long at all. Actually, Dawn, I can do them quite quick now. I've got the hang. It took a little while to get used to it, but yeah, I love them. No, Dawn's just asked me, so I was just replying. Anyway, so people,
like and subscribe as well if you don't mind. It really helps the channel, and most of all, if you just like press the like button, I'll tell you what that does. It boots up the channel and it shows us that we're bringing content that you like. And if we're not, be honest, put it in the comments. Say, Phil, load of old rubbish. Why can't you talk about blah blah? Or, you know, why can't you not talk? Or, you know, anything you want. But, you know, so it lets us know if we're doing, because at the end of the day, we want to bring you content. We want to bring content that you take something from. Otherwise, there's not a lot of point in doing this. You know, so maybe something which is mutual, something which kind of like, you know, you've experienced, I've experienced, you know, other people experience. You know, I want to bring, and I want to try and really bring. I don't have a lot of highbrow, big names coming on being interviewed. They're ordinary people, like I've always said, with extraordinary experiences, like you and I have had. So, you know, a lot of people out there that have, and I think that it's nice that we have this channel as a somewhere to go where they have got a voice. And if that's the sort of thing, just like the channel and subscribe and share it. It really helps the channel a lot. Anything else, Rox?
Dawn's saying she can't hear me. She's going to be watching it, alarm set, but she couldn't hear me. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Yeah. I just checked the settings. No, you seem okay. Your microphone's on. Yeah, no, that's all right. Yeah, other than that, okay, we're going to let you go, guys. Take care. Thank you very much for watching. God bless you all, and see you again soon. All right, bye-bye.
Thanks.